Hello, Happy New Year! It's 2019, we're in January, and have you hit those phones yet? If you have, great, well done. I hope you're having some success with them. If you haven't yet because you're procrastinating or you're putting it off for whatever reason, then let's see if I can help you. Quite often, making a cold call, coming back in January first of all, is always just a little bit difficult because you might be a little bit rusty because you've had a long break. Some of us had a crazy whirlwind of a break and actually come back to our desks for a rest. So whatever the reason is, it could be that you're just a little bit slow on the uptake. Now, whether you're starting a fresh new target, a fresh new year, or whether you are halfway through your sales year anyway, by the by, point is, let's see if I can help you. Now, yesterday I wrote a little article. I have it in front of me here and I want to share that with you. The article is called 5 Things That You Could Do to Make Sure That Your Cold Call is going to be successful. So this is 5 things you would do before making a call. Now, I'm always harping on and on about preparation. I think it's really important to prepare before you pick up the phone if you're making B2B calls. I'm not talking to people who sit in offices with dialers where you don't have the time, so don't write in and tell me that you don't have time to do the research. I don't agree with that approach, but then, it's your job and that's what you do, so fair enough. But if you're working in an environment where you are able to conduct your own business and work in your own time, then these are 5 things I would recommend that you do before you pick up the phone. Okay. Number 1, know what you are selling. Now, yes, of course you know what you're selling, but I mean really know what you're selling. So last year I put out a little video about this and I just want to repeat it again. It's really important to sit down and do yourself a little exercise. Now, how many of you have ever done a little spider diagram? You know, the one where you put the name of your company in the middle and then you start to draw lines out to connect to words and phrases and things that you know are associated with your product or your service. Well, if you haven't done it, don't do it, because it's a really good exercise and a reminder for you to remember what your service is all about and what your product is all about. Know your product. Of course you know your product, but know it well. Know it to the point where, that you can sort of literally exhaust your brain thinking about all the different things that this product or service provides. And then out of all of those things, no matter how trivial you think they are or how great you think, just put them down. And then out of all of those sorts of things, then pick out the things that you think are really key about the service or the product that you have. Because these are what I would call the advantages of your product or your service. And it's these advantages that are going to make you shine a little bit better than the competition or whatever else is out there. Now, if you're a distributor and you're selling the same thing as the competition, then that's fair enough. Then you've got to think about what is there about your service and you that makes your ability to distribute that product or item better than the other person. So advantages are around what in general you do really well and that you're renowned for, that you're good at, or that you know you could do well or better than anybody else. All right, so those are your advantages. So your first thing to do is to really make sure you know your product, your service, everything that that means to you, but then more importantly, everything that means to the general market. Now, I'm not talking benefits, remember, this is advantages. There is a big difference between talking about advantages and talking about benefits. Benefits, are personal. And at this point yet, you haven't made it personal. At this point yet, you're just seeking the advantages of what you do well. Which brings me to point 2. The second thing that you want to do is know who you are selling to. Okay? Because this is when you can start to tailor those advantages to become benefits or potential benefits. But first you've got to know who you're selling to. So how do you do that? Well, you use all the resources available to you that you probably already use now, but use them wisely, use them in a smart way. You have got limited time, even though we say, we've got to prepare. Even preparation, you have got limited time to do that. The idea is to get on the phone. The idea is not to be preparing forever. You've got to have a good balance. So the time that you spend in preparing has got to be smartly spent. So what I would suggest is, if you don't have a name of a person to contact, then LinkedIn is always a great place to look for people, roles, who are they. If you don't know how to do that, get in touch with me. I can talk you through it. Or if you have a LinkedIn expert that you're in touch with already, ask them. There's loads of people out there. The other thing that to look at is Twitter. Twitter is really good, and Instagram, if they use Instagram, is really good to give you an idea of whereabouts their thought processes, their goals are at the moment. What are they really focused on? And the reason I say Twitter and Instagram is because that's what they'll be promoting a lot of. If they're looking to be to be very, very economic, and their focus is the carbon footprint, then you'll see a lot of activities and articles and pictures, etc., all to do with how well they're managing their carbon footprint. It could be recruitment. There could be a massive recruitment drive right now, and you'll see it. You'll see it through the Twitters, the tweets, through the Instagram pics, and all linked posts. I know that Instagram and Twitter are not the only ones that are available out there. But go to those sorts of instant social media posting sites, because that's where you'll start to understand what they're kind of focused on. And then don't forget, let's not swiftly move past the websites, because websites, although not used as often as they used to be, are still a great source of information. So if you go to a website, look at news pages, link that to what you've seen in Twitter, on any part of social media. Who's who is on the website, you can link that with with what you found out in LinkedIn. So in a way you can confirm information, in a way you can tailor it even more from the website, because the website is going to tell you a little bit more about the company. Now, the other thing the website is really good for you is to understand the kind of language that these guys use. So if your prospect is using certain types of words and languages where there's several alternatives, then I would say mirror theirs when you're on the phone. So I have, there's lots and lots of examples. So for example, you could be, we are customer service focused, or it could be, we believe in customer excellence. So there's, little differences in the language, the words. It becomes almost like their language. And if you're able to pick up their language from their website, you're able to emulate a bit more of a cultural rapport with the person on the phone. So it's important to try and do that. And I tell you something, I have often used people's own strap lines from their website. And one, it shows that you've looked at their website, you've done a little bit of homework on them. And two, if they haven't really thought about it, if they're not thinking about it in that way, they might just immediately take to you automatically without knowing it, because there's this subconscious cultural rapport going on. All right, so think about that, because then when you have managed to link the two, link everything. Oh, the other thing, mustn't forget this. Websites also might list people that they're working with, and you might very well have worked with one of those people. So look for common ground on the website. It's always really useful for that to get in. Then number 3, my third tip kind of links on from that. So you've got your, first of all, you know what you're selling, you know your advantages. Now you know the person who you're selling to. You've got a little bit more feel of them, the business, their focuses, their aims, who they are, the language, the culture that they work in. Now third, what you've got to do now is put together a value proposition. The value proposition is based on how you think your advantages could benefit that company based on what they are focused on right now. You see, only becomes a benefit, your advantages will only become a benefit to them, or a potential benefit to them, if you hit the nail on the head in terms of what they are looking at this current time in their business. Okay, so this is where you put a value proposition. Now, value propositions don't need to be really wordy. They don't need to be super jargon led. They don't need to be, too short, or rhythmic or anything like that. All they need to be is easy to understand, comprehensive. All right. IT people out there, think about this one, because you are the ones that tend to just throw jargon at companies, and quite often you've lost the person on the other end before you've even got halfway through your sentence because you're throwing too much jargon into it. So make what you do clear and concise. So for me, I'd be saying, we specialize in providing bespoke sales training solutions to improve sales performances out there in the field and internally. So that's kind of my strapline. If I'm going to attach a value proposition to that, then I'd be thinking, okay, so this company I've looked up is currently really focused on margins, let's say. So I say, so by taking, I understand that you've discussed already how important margin is to the growth of the business. So with that in mind, I would love to share with you some of the work we've done on margins previously. So you see, that's like almost saying, hey, look, I've listened, I've kept my ear to the ground. I understand what you might be focused on right now. Obviously, I don't know all the answers, but it'd be good to talk to you further because I might be able to help you. All right? So that's putting together a value proposition. Again, I can give you more information on that if you want to get in touch with me. Number 4 then, right? So you've got all the legwork done. You know who they are. You know how they operate. You know where they want to be. You've got your value proposition ready. You've tailored your value proposition to this particular customer, and you know what you're about. So now, you want to make the call, yeah? No. Don't make the call yet. Just make sure you are clear in your head about what you're looking to achieve at the end of that phone call. Quite often, salespeople if I ask salespeople, or you ask yourself now, what is it that you're looking to achieve after this phone call? And most people say a sale or an appointment. And that's great. It would be fantastic if it was that transactional. However, most business people will not just make a transactional sale over the phone with another business person. They're more likely to want to see you first or want to discuss it further with you, and there might be other reasons that they can't do that straight away on the phone. But you know that if you're in this business already, you already know that. So what I always say is, you can, of course, I'm not denying that you're probably good enough to get an appointment, but what I would say to you is this: before you go running ahead of yourself and trying to get an appointment on the phone and making that your sole and prime objective, please make sure that wherever you're going running off to on this appointment, it could be for some of you catching a plane to go and see this person, for some of you it could be down the road, but wherever it is, it's time and money that you're about to invest into going to see them. So here's my tip to you: qualify. Your very first objective on a phone call should be to qualify it. And it works. You know why it works? Well, there's a few reasons. One, you're not putting yourself under pressure to get a sale right there and then, so you're more relaxed, and you will come across more relaxed. Secondly, you may not be speaking to the decision maker and they may not even be available. However, you've got somebody on the line, and the good thing about an objective like qualifying is you're probably going to be able to get some level of qualification from the person that you're speaking to. Okay? So, whichever way you look at it, you can guarantee that being able to ask a few questions and get some answers for yourself will put you in a better position in terms of, 1, are you going to call back? Is it worth your time to call that customer back? 2, have you gained some credibility, a bit of rapport with the gatekeeper that you're speaking to, so next time it'll be a lot easier? 3, if you can qualify, you may even find that you get through to the decision maker because the gatekeeper is still listening to you and still talking to you and thinking, actually, by that time the decision maker's come along and, hey, why didn't I put you through? Lots and lots of reasons why you should collate before the phone call a list of questions that identify the criteria you're looking for to make this prospect worth it for you. Guys, I can't stress this enough. Honestly, I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Have a list of criteria. I don't go on the phone and have a relaxed conversation because I've got nowhere to go. I go on the phone and have a relaxed conversation because I feel I've got nothing to lose. I've got nothing to lose, because whatever happens on this phone call, I'm going to come away with information that I didn't already have. And the only reason I'm going to come away with information that I didn't already have is because I've sat down and decided what I want to know from this business, to be able to decide whether I want to chase it, whether I want to play cat and mouse for the rest of this month, or however many months it takes to get hold of the decision maker. That's all going to be in how much is it worth it. That's all going to be in the questions you ask. That's all going to be in how smartly you sit down and set your qualifiers. All right? So that was my tip number 4. And finally, my tip number 5 to you is eliminate the fears. Fears are all in there. Now, if you go into a phone call not having been prepared, then you are more likely to fear what's going to be on that phone call. If you do all of the points that I've said, 1 to 4, before you pick up the phone, then the likelihood is your fears won't be there, because you'll be too busy focused on your objective as opposed to trying to think on your feet. When people try to think on their feet, they come across a little bit more hurried, a little bit more desperate, a little bit more like fumbling around for answers. If you're fumbling around for answers, the person on the other end is probably thinking, I don't think this person knows what they're doing, or this person sounds unsure, insecure. Suddenly you might put yourself in a bit of a submissive position with the other person. They will start to feel a bit more like they've got power and control over the call. And the thing is, you see, if you lose control of the call, you may as well not be on the call. So points 1 to 4 are there to ensure that you don't go on a phone fearing it. You don't go on a phone call, fearing it. You go on a phone call prepared for it. And when you're prepared for it, you're able to control it better. Your voice, your tone, everything will come across better. I get questions. I had a question. In fact, I had a review from my book, and I wanted more about tone, how to control my tone. Well, here's the answer to that. Prepare. Because I wouldn't want you to be on a phone call thinking about your tone. I would want you to be on a phone call focused on what the other person's saying. You see, when you're prepared and you've got all the right questions and you know where you're going, you've fed your brain the objective, your brain knows it's going there, and what will automatically happen is a really nice casual conversation, a consultative conversation, where you and the other person are actually building a rapport at the same time. Why? Because you are showing a genuine interest in them. And secondly, you're genuinely listening. You're listening to understand where they come from. And thirdly, you're making sure that you're not wasting your time. So, all round it's a win-win situation. So those are my 5 tips of what to do before you make a phone call. I try it, honestly. I can't make you do it, but I can only suggest it. I'm just a messenger, and I'm just saying, hey, look, it's worked for me. It always works for me. I've made a living out of this, and lots and lots of people have benefited from it. So I'm sure it'll work for you too. Give me a shout if you want more help. I hope this has helped you today. Take care. Have a fantastic rest of January. I will try and come back to you before February, and certainly before Valentine's Day. And if not, then I'll come back on Valentine's Day and just tell you how much I love you all for subscribing, and I'm grateful for you for have watched me and been watching me all this time, and your support through 2019 would be very much appreciated. Right, that's that. Speak soon. Bye.